The blizzard hit without warning that February night, 20 below zero and dropping fast, and I was closing up my ranger station for the night when I heard it. A sound that stopped me cold, howling, but not from a distance, right outside my door, desperate and weak and dying. I threw open the door and there he was, a wolf pup alone in the snow, dying. No time to think, I just scooped him up, frozen solid and barely breathing. I got him inside and kicked the door shut as the storm was trying to follow us in. I laid him by the fire and his body was ice cold. So cold, I didn't even know if he'd make it another 5 minutes. Hypothermia, I'd seen it before in mountain rescues, when core temperature crashes and organs shut down, and I had minutes, not hours. Warm water, not hot. I started with his paws, working my way up, slow and steady because too fast and his heart could stop. Still no response. His eyes wouldn't open, and I kept saying, "Come on, little guy. Fight, just fight. Hypothermia. Victims need fluids, warm, not hot." So I mixed electrolytes and tested the temperature because every second counted. Drop by drop, I tilted his head back and opened his mouth, but the liquid just sat there. He wasn't swallowing. Throat massage. An old wilderness medic taught me this, to stimulate the reflex and make the body remember how to survive. And then I felt it. A swallow. Small and weak, but there, which meant he was fighting. He was still in there. I stayed with him through the night, drop by drop, hour by hour, just willing him to live. As dawn broke, his eyes finally opened. Just a crack, but it was enough. He was coming back to me. Once he was stable, I examined his paw and found the wound was deep and infected, at least 3 or 4 days old. That infection needed antibiotics, real medical care, but the storm was still raging outside. I made the call, knowing the nearest wildlife clinic was 40 miles away in a blizzard, but we had no choice. I bundled him against my chest and zipped my jacket around him, his little face peeking out, and we were going into that storm together. The truck fought through the snow, and 40 miles had never felt so far. Visibility was maybe 30 feet, and the road kept disappearing. I couldn't see what was ahead. I kept one hand on the wheel and one on him, feeling for his heartbeat through the blanket. Then something changed. His breathing got weird. Fast, then slow, and his eyes, something was wrong. I pulled over right there, middle of nowhere, because he wasn't breathing right. Something was failing. I laid him flat and put my ear to his chest and heard nothing. No heartbeat. He was gone. CPR, 2 fingers on his tiny chest, 30 compressions. Breathe. Come on, breathe, compress. Breathe, compress, because I wasn't losing him. Not after everything, not now. And then a gasp, small and weak, but his chest moved on its own. He was breathing. I'd brought him back from the dead. My hands were shaking, but he was alive. We both were. We kept going, faster now because that clinic couldn't come fast enough. Every few seconds I'd check him, still breathing, still fighting. Just hold on, buddy, almost there. Then through the snow I saw it. Lights. The town. We'd made it. The clinic. And I'd never been so happy to see a building in my life. I grabbed him and ran straight through those doors, yelling, "Help! I need help now!" Dr. Chen didn't hesitate. She took one look at him and moved, saying, "Exam room now." She laid him on the table and her hands moved fast, checking and assessing because every second was critical. "Heart rate weak, but steady," she said, breathing shallow. "He's in shock. Hypothermia. What happened?" I told her everything, the blizzard, the CPR, the 40-mile drive, and she nodded, already working. "This infection is bad," she said quietly. 3, maybe 4 days old. He's lucky you found him when you did. Dr. Chen worked fast with IV fluids, antibiotics, warming blankets, and she knew what she was doing. Within an hour, I could see the change happening. His eyes cleared and his breathing steadied. He was responding to treatment.
We're doing everything we can.
The infection will heal, Dr. Chen said. But Marcus, he's been alone for at least 5 days, maybe a week. 5 days. That meant his pack had moved on. Or worse, he had no family to go back to. Over the next 3 days, he got stronger, started eating on his own, and even tried to play. I visited every day, and at first he'd hide in the back of the cage, but slowly he started coming to me. The first time he let me touch him, I named him Shadow right then, because he'd come out of the darkness. Dr. Chen pulled up maps and radio collar data, found there was a wolf pack about 15 miles north. Maybe they'd take him in. A week later, we drove into the mountains, Shadow in a carrier beside me, and this was it, his chance at a real life. I opened the carrier and Shadow looked out scared. The wild was his home, but he'd never known it. He stepped into the snow and looked back at me, then forward, like he was torn between two worlds. And then they came. 4 wolves moving through the trees, the pack, and I held my breath. Shadow saw them and his tail started wagging. He took a step forward because he wanted them to be his family. The alpha stopped and stared at Shadow. Everything hung on this moment, accept or reject. The alpha charged and Shadow dropped, showed his belly in submission, but it wasn't enough. They didn't want him. I ran forward and grabbed him as the alpha growled but backed off, and Shadow was shaking, terrified. I watched the pack disappear. Wrong pack. That wasn't his family, but somewhere out there his real mother was waiting. Somewhere in thousands of acres of wilderness was one wolf, his mother, and we had to find her. That night I studied the maps, radio collar data, movement patterns, looking for a lone female wolf separated from pack 3 weeks ago. And then I saw it, a radio signal 15 miles east. Not moving, she was denned up, Shadow's mother. We were going to find her. Dawn came and we hiked deep into the forest, following that signal. Shadow in my jacket quiet, like he knew something was about to happen. The GPS said 200 yards, then 100, then the signal stopped moving. She was close. And then I saw it, a den under a fallen log, tracks in the snow, fresh. She was here. I took Shadow out and set him in the snow. This was it. His mother was in there, but would she remember him? Shadow froze, sniffing, and his ears shot up. That scent, he knew it. Deep in his bones, he knew. And she came out, a gray wolf, beautiful and scarred. And she looked at Shadow, and I saw it in her eyes. She knew her son. Shadow ran as fast as his little legs could go, and she dropped low, whining, and they collided. Mother and son finally reunited. She checked him over, every inch, like she couldn't believe he was real, that he was alive, that he'd come back. I stood there watching, and I'm not ashamed to say, I cried, because after everything, he was home. She nudged him toward the den, and he followed. No looking back. He was wild again, where he belonged. I radioed Dr. Chen and told her I'd found the mother, but she's hurt. Can't hunt. They both need help. She arrived with supplies, tranquilizer, medicine, food, and we'd help them both together. The mother let us approach like she understood what we were doing. We treated her wounds and left food. She'd be okay now. Mother and son together, safe, fed, healing. This was what I'd hoped for, what Shadow deserved. I backed away slowly and the mother watched me go. Shadow was at her side. My job was done. Over the next few weeks I checked on them, always from a distance, and they were thriving, wild and free. Shadow was growing and getting stronger, learning to hunt, becoming what he was meant to be, a wolf. And then, one day I saw them, the pack coming back, and Shadow's family was a whole again. I watched them disappear into the forest. Shadow was home, really home, and my work here was done. 6 months passed, late summer came, and I went back to that forest just to see, just to know. I hiked the old trails, remembering that winter, the blizzard, the tiny pup who'd almost died in my arms. And then I stopped because on the trail ahead, about 50 yards away, was a wolf watching me. Silver gray fur, that face, those eyes, and I knew him instantly, shadow all grown up. We stared at each other and I swear he remembered, something in those eyes, a recognition. I felt the tears come because he'd made it against all odds. He was alive, strong, wild, perfect. And then he took a step toward me, then another, close enough to see every detail, every scar I'd treated that winter night. We stood there, wolf and man, remembering. He was thanking me, and I was thanking him for surviving. Then he turned and walked back to the forest, to his pack, to his life, and I watched until he disappeared. The lone wolf pup was lost no more.